Well, hello everyone. How are you today? Hopefully well, or well enough. Could be better if you had a motorcycle, I'm sure. If you do have a motorcycle, I don't know, maybe you gotta fix it, or maybe you're just good, or maybe you're just not that into riding, I don't know. I did want to take some time out to just kind of briefly discuss how I ended up settling on, well, I shouldn't say settle, but you know, how I ended up choosing the S1000RR as my bike. I mean, in all seriousness, I know when I get on the bike, it gets me a little giddy because it's such a rarity that you get to do something that's so engaging in life. And I mean, there's a lot of things you can do, and I know, like, you know, studying bookwork and stuff is fun, and it's mentally engaging, and it forces you to think. But you know, even when you're on a timed test and you have to figure something out in a lot amount of time, you know, there's not, you know, it's like a pass-fail thing at that. You know, so far as a grade that gets lumped into, you know, what you've been doing this far. It's not the same as riding a bike, where, you know, you're kind of given a test, and if you fail, that could very well be your life, and you could die. And that was a big reason I ended up getting the S1000RR. I realized that Ducati was the first manufacturer to really orchestrate traction control and ABS in their bikes, and they did it a year or two previous to BMW coming out with the S1000RR. BMW's had ABS on their bikes since the late 80s or early 90s or something like that. I mean, they've really been doing all that for a while, but the you know, the traction control and stuff was a more recent endeavor. I say recent, I mean, it's been 6 or 7 years now. But the underlying point was that, you know, I looked at some Ducatis, and Ducatis are beautiful and amazing bikes. I wouldn't have felt shafted with a Ducati. There was something about the purity and the lustfulness of the Ducati that just didn't necessarily coincide with my wallet, because it's a bit of a unique design. I really, in so many ways, I think the inline 4-cylinder is a little bit more of a simplistic design, and it's more competitive with the other racing bikes out there. If you really look at most of the top tier racing bikes, I mean, they're pretty much all inline 4-cylinders, and that's, you know, that was kind of my MO going towards the bike. I was looking at it at a little bit of an F1 standpoint, where I wanted something that was, you know, a competitive bike, but on the same platform. So that was, you know, checking off a box in the right direction. So coupled with the traction control, the ABS, being a 4-cylinder, or an inline 4, you know, it just seemed like it was worth checking out to me, and I liked it. I did like I will say I don't really like the new color schemes on the bikes, but that's personal preference, you know. I liked I liked all around the tenacity of the whole bike, and it was I mean, it is brutish, and I thought for a while about getting a bike that was a smaller displacement, because I grew up riding dirt bikes and stuff. I love doing that, but I kind of put that on the back burner to focus on just having a street bike. Because, you know, money's not something that grows on trees. I hate to say it. I mean, unless, well, no, I'm not going to say it. But you have to understand that, you know, it's, you know, you reach some limitations in life, unfortunately. You know, there's times in your life where you can't afford everything you want, and you know, I kind of decided that, you know, the bike was the way to go. I kind of gave up on having, you know, fast cars and stuff like that. And, you know, I just figured I'd focus on the bike, and gave up the dirt bikes, this, that, and the other thing. And I actually had a cruiser before this. I had an old ratty Harley Davidson. I really liked my Harley Davidson because it had so much character, and it was just a fun bike, but it was always a project, you know. I wanted to just get on and ride something, and I just wanted to enjoy the purity of riding again, because I missed that with riding a dirt bike. But you know, naturally with a dirt bike, you're not on the street anymore. You know, you're riding off road. Or if you get a bike that's you know, set up with lights and turn signals and everything, like the super motards. I mean, they have their performance limitations that you hit pretty quick. And then, you know, and then there's kind of hooligan machines, which are, you know, they're fun. They're good to start off on. But ultimately, I wanted to get a sport bike. I decided not to get a smaller displacement bike, believe it or not, because of the traction control and ABS. Because I figured if I was going to get a bike with traction control and ABS, it didn't make sense right off the bat to get a lower horsepower bike, because I knew after I got back into it and was riding for, you know, 6 months and got comfortable on the bike and the whole nature of a sport bike again, I would have been, you know, kind of bummed about the power on a 0.6 or you know, even like the 3/4 bikes. They're like, you know, they're fast and everything, but there's no comparing it to a liter bike. I mean, my bike's got 193 horse right out of the gate, like from the factory. That's nothing to slouch at. That's a lot of fucking horsepower. And I mean, I can't impress upon you just how fast it is. And the strange part about it is, I remember the first time I rode even a 600. I was blown away at how fast it was. And the first time I rode a liter bike, I was you know, flabbergasted. And that, you know, that was like an older, probably like early 2000s bike. Maybe even like late 90s bike at that point, because I really had no interest in sport. I just thought I was going to kill myself. But again, with the traction control and ABS, I gotta stop saying traction control. It's dynamic traction control and ABS. But I couldn't say no to it, because I had a couple of BMW cars over the years. And what I found with the BMW cars is with their traction control and stability control systems, you could drive the car at your own pace and your own leisure, and then as you got comfortable working up with the car, and you know, contextually, you had some room to kind of push it a little bit and get towards the limit. The dynamic traction control and stability control allowed you to push the car towards the limit with a safety net, because it would immediately engage, and you would feel it engage whenever the thing got out of shape. You know, whenever the car started to lose traction or something, you would immediately feel the system coming to work at that point. Up until then, it's not doing anything. It just lets the car roll down. But what I found really interesting about it was I noticed you could disarm the stability control and retain traction control. And I was like, that's really strange, because now it allows the car to sort of step out of shape a little bit, but before it really gets out of shape, it'll cut the power on. And I was like, that's actually really interesting, because it really allows you to push towards that threshold in a way that is safe to do so. Safe in the sense that it gives you that point, it gives you that feedback, and it really ingrains in you where that limitation is, so you can learn to develop a feel for it. Because it's very difficult to develop a feel for traction threshold and what your tires are doing and what the suspension's doing. I mean, when you're in a car, you have to understand that you're feeling 4 individual tires going down the road. Coupled with the steering, the brake feel, the engine feel to it, which is going to be dependent on what gear you're in. There's so many different things to feel for and things to note and be aware of when you're going. You know, it takes a while to learn and develop those skills. So having a dynamic stability control system was, I mean, it made it all doable and possible without having to not have to mess up so much. Instead of sliding the car out, you know, instead of doing all that, you just had a light that would flash, and you would notice, you know, you could feel the brakes coming on individually on each individual wheel. And I thought that was really, really cool. That again, you could feel that, and then be able to disable that in a series of steps, so that you could let it sort of hang out and relax to the point where you could then turn it off, and then it's just all you. And you find that once you work up to that, it develops the confidence to be able to disarm the system and to get to that point where you could really let it all hang out and just be in pure control of your vehicle. And that was amazing, man. I was so blown away that I was like, you know what? I am gonna buy a BMW. And that's what I set out for, and that's what I wanted to buy, was a BMW, because of because of my learning experience. And again, I bought a I was looking at sport bikes, and I ended up with a Super Sport because I just wanted the purity of riding. I just wanted to be able to go out and just ride. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to tour on the bike. I didn't want to do anything but just, the bike, myself, and the road. That's all I wanted. That's it. I mean, that's my time off from life. I mean, I can just kind of go all day. I mean, I don't need a lot. I just, I'm a I'm a fairly simplistic person. I don't need a lot of complicated things in my life. That doesn't mean I don't like technical things. So, I mean, the bike satisfies all that. And again, it just does it in a way that's just, I've just found it's been a brilliant experience. Based on the number of people that ride, and based on the way people ride, I just know there's not a lot of people that have truly gotten to experience some of the things that I've experienced in life. And I think there's this drastic misconception that it can't be done. And I think that the dynamic traction control systems bikes like mine are changing that, and it can be done, and you can do it safely, and you can do it in a manner that is really quite safe. But we'll talk about that in a moment.